Stream. It's January 30th, 2019. I'm Andrew Turley, and I'm going to be doing some more pony streaming here. Gonna keep working on the Twitch IRC bot that I've been building. It's both a bot and a library, so let's get right into it. Let's see here. So last time we turned some classes into actors so that our bot could do things asynchronously. So there's a timer on the bot that watches to see if there's been any activity in the channel, and if there hasn't been any activity in a little while, it says something to try to stir people up and get them talking. So there's some asynchronous communication there. And let's take a look at the bot itself. Oops. So this is my bot. So I was looking at some other chatbot libraries. This is maybe looks a little verbose, but there's a lot of things that's going on in here, so I don't think it's too bad. There's a lot of boilerplate in here for getting the username and the password, and there may be some ways to clean some of that up. Let's start with a couple of things here. So I built in this name count thing to count how many times somebody had said Famous Mr. Ed's name. And for some reason I did it with 2 exclamation points. I think I can do that with 1. So let's make that change real quick. And we'll build this. Oops. Okay, and there's Famous Mr. Ed saying Wilbur, and also saying let's make some noise in here. So what happens if I say hello to Famous Mr. Ed? He says hello back to me. And let's go to our debugging window here. We'll say name count. And that seems to have worked. Okay, so I got the count of the number of times anyone had said hello to Famous Mr. Ed, or said Famous Mr. Ed's name, and that was 1. So that let's make some noise in here message should have not appeared immediately. And I think the problem is that I set my initial delay on the timer to 0. And really I should probably have it be this. So this will wait 5 minutes and do the first timer, and then set a timer off every 5 minutes after that. So I think this is probably more what we'd want for something that sends out an encouraging message. Okay, so that's cool. Let's just rebuild that and make sure everything's on the up and up. Okay. So let's take a look at this and see if there's anything else that really desperately needs to happen. I feel like this example bot that I created, while it's not terribly sophisticated, it does at least a few kind of interesting things, and so someone could use it to create their own interesting bot. So one thing I've done, let's see if I've hard-coded aturls anywhere here. Only here. So I think what I want to do is take my channel list and connect to all the channels in my channel list. So, or send that message out. So the way I have this set up is that initially you connect to the channels that you pass as command line arguments. I'd like those channels to be in my IRC message responder so that I can loop over them and send a message to all of them. Is that what I want to do? I think the tricky part here is that that may not be the right thing to do, because we may have multiple channels that we're connected to, and they may not all need to get the spam message. Let's start with just getting the channels in here. So let's see here. For now, why don't I just pass the channels in as an argument to the constructor? That way I don't have to try to do anything fancy on the bot, or on the bot library itself. So that's going to be an array of string val and so we'll set the channels property of the IRC message responder to its channels that we get in, and then we'll create a little for loop here. And I need to remember to prepend the octothrope. Okay, that should do it. Okay. I'm gonna undo what I did here real quick and set this timer back to 0, and that way I will see a message initially, and so I can make sure that things look like they're working correctly. So let's rebuild. And run it. And we got the let's make some noise in here and Wilbur messages from famous Mr. Ed. So it looks like we're in good shape. Let me bump this back to 5 minutes. And I just wanted to break the line up a little bit here. Pony standard is typically 80 character long lines or less. So we just move the this part down here to the next line and we're good. All right. Just scan through this for a second. Yeah. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to do. Name map should have an underscore in front of it. So in some languages, there's like a convention that if you have an underscore in front of something, then that means that it's private. In Pony, that's actually enforced, so you can't access a property whose name starts with an underscore from outside of that class. And there's no reason that name map should be public, so just make it private, fix it up here in all the places that it appears. Okay, and let's rebuild again. Cool. That's good. All right. So I think what I'd like to do is move this bot example over into the library itself so that I can put all of this up on GitHub, and if somebody wants to play around with it, they've got an example sitting there that lets them see how to do this. So let's make a directory called example, and let's start copying a few things over. Let's just copy the whole thing into example for now. Okay. I'm going to remove the bundle.github, bundle underscore GitHub, and bundle underscore local. We're just going to have this build against the local version, or the local library, which is in the directory up from here. So let's go ahead and just get rid of our existing bundle as well, and we'll do a stable add local. This will add the directory above us to the path of directories that are searched when looking for packages. So we should be able to build this in here now. Oops. and that builds fine. So now we've got this example. So let's modify our, let's see, what do we want to do? So one thing I don't want to do is ship my credentials over. So I'm going to modify the git ignore file. Make sure that I don't do that. I also don't want to send over let's see, I want to remove my Twitch IRC bot. That's my old executable. So the executables are named after the directory that you're in. So when we moved these things to a new directory called example, we ended up, when we built, we end up with an executable called example now. So let's add these two to the git ignore as well. And then let's create a credentials example file. And we want Twitch password and Twitch username. Really, it's your token. Okay, so now somebody should be able to figure out how to use this if they want. And really, technically, they don't even need to file. Small bits of documentation here. Comments, lots of fun, you know. Okay. All right. Just kind of look through this and see if there's any other easy wins for right now. This all looks pretty pretty straightforward. I'm sure there are things that could be cleaned up and made better as always, but I think if somebody's looking at this, they can sort of start to stumble their way through what's going on. And I can write a README file in a little bit and maybe make it a little clearer how to use it. So yeah, at this point, I think that I would be almost ready to just kind of toss this little bot out into the world and let people play around with it. Let's see, that looks right. Okay. So, I think I'm probably going to put an end to the Twitch IRC bot streams for now, unless anybody has some specific things that they want to see that I can come back and do. So hopefully if you've watched these things, you can go check this thing out on GitHub. It's here at github.com/aturley/twitchircbot. And you can go there and start playing around with it. So I'll put up some, like I said, I'll put up some documentation in a bit and maybe make it a little easier to follow along with the instructions. But that's about it for today. And like I said, that's kind of about it for the IRC bot. I have a few ideas of things that I might start streaming in the future. Some people have asked me questions about FFI in Pony. That's the foreign function interface. It's the thing that lets you call C functions from Pony. It's kind of useful. I've done some work with a little library for doing plotter art, so if anybody's interested in seeing that, maybe I'll stream a little more of that. And I have an open sound control library that I've been playing around with, so I might stream some work on that as well. Anyway, I realize we're kind of wrapping up here a little early, but I think this is kind of where I want to end it. Thank you all for tuning in, and take care, and I'll hopefully see you on the next stream. Have a good day.